Welcome back, Shelby Volo joining us now from Abbott Wealth Management. It's great to have you back on this Wednesday.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yes, we're talking about a great topic today, women and money, and that is something that I don't know if we ever even talked about that on the show.
No, I don't think the segment's happened yet. So
I
thought it was a great time to do it for lots of reasons that we're going to talk about today in our slides.
Great, let's get into the first slide, which is the introductory slide, women and wealth.
And you have to have that photo.
You do.
Obviously.
It's like the United Steelworkers slogan right there.
Totally.
All right, so
our first slide, what makes us different from men? Well, women actually are balancing caregiving to their children, but also their parents as well, and having a career.
It's a fine balance, I'll tell you.
I believe it, absolutely. And also, women are worried about leaving a legacy to their children. That's really important to most women anyways. They want to ensure they aren't a financial burden to their children as well. So once they get older, they don't want their children to have to take care of them. So that's a big worry and concern for them.
Okay.
So if we go to our next slide, kind of explains why we are the way we are. This kind of makes us more of having a planning mentality because we are balancing so many things in our mind that we want to cover off.
Yes.
So in some polls, 74% of men polled that they were the lead decision maker in the household, which I'm not surprised about. I do see that a lot. 46% of women polled that they were the lead decision maker. Why is that a problem? Well, 90% of women will have to play the role of either of a sole financial decision maker, either due to divorce or death. So at one point in your life, you are going to have to figure out how to balance your finances and learn about investments. And it is boring sometimes, I get it. But that's what your financial advisor's for. So finding someone you're comfortable with to help you with all those stages is really important.
Right.
So I like to say, you know, start investing and learning now.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm in charge of all the financial in my house, but I know for people who aren't or women that aren't, it can be a rude awakening if suddenly they're put into the position of needing to know how right away.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's so many things to learn.
Yes.
And that's why it's important that couples go to those meetings with their advisor together. I know a lot of the times women are like, you know, that's his thing. I pay the bills, he can manage the finances. It's so important to go together because if something does happen suddenly, it's important that you know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Because so many widows don't have any idea where their finances are or where they're located, because sometimes men like to diversify with different banks. So there's lots of moving parts.
Right.
But our next slide here. So the underlying reasons why women feel uncomfortable. So there is 3 there. Education's 1. So they feel that they're not educated enough on the subject. So it makes them feel uncomfortable to make investment decisions. Confidence was another really big one. 52% of women told researchers they had confidence, while 68% of men felt strongly that their investment abilities were great, where women just, you know, felt confident-ish.
Okay.
So it was really interesting to see that study. And then millennials specifically really stood out to me because 63% of women ages 18 to 29 say financial planning is too difficult to even think about.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy and sad to hear.
Yes,
Really.
and that's kind of what's stopping people from starting to save early for their retirement because they don't really know where to start, which again is why meeting with a planner to do all that work for you is great. Yes.
Maybe it's because millennials for their age group don't think it's important. If they were motivated to learn, they would, but they're putting that off until their 30s when it actually becomes something that you care about.
Yes, and I noticed as well, I read another stat that females hold 64 or 68% of student debt in comparison to males. So as soon as they do their education, they're moving on and have this huge debt to pay back. And they were saying as well that to every dollar a man makes, a woman makes 89 cents on that dollar. So they're also faced with that gap as well. So they have debt to start with before they can even think about saving.
Sure.
But every little bit helps. So even if it's $25 a month, it's good to start.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Do we have another slide?
We do.
Here we go.
So women that do invest compared to men, this is why we should all feel comfortable in investing because the trends prove that we're actually really good at it.
Hey.
I know. So Fidelity specifically did some research and determined that female accounts did better than males by 0.4% per year.
Interesting.
Yes. And also, a university did a study reviewing 6 years worth of trends and also determined that women's accounts performed better than males. And there is some reasons behind that.
Okay.
So as I mentioned to you, women have more of a planning mentality, which makes them more sensitive to the complexities with financial planning. And they also understand that there is more that drives a financial plan. So it makes them realize not to invest with their emotions, but to invest in the plan that they agreed upon. And I think that works because women tend to look at investing as they want their relationship with money to be linked to their values, goals, and priorities. And as I mentioned, it's important not to be a burden and to leave that legacy. So as long as the plan they put in place is what they wanted and they're following it, they aren't super sensitive that they're going to be like, oh, I'm really emotional and I'm going to change this plan right here, right now.
Right.
So it makes them a lot more successful because they're more into investing and not the short term.
Right, long term, gotta be long term.
Exactly, because men generally, specifically about investments and performance is what they like to talk about, which isn't really the end goal. So women are stick to the plan essentially a lot more strongly. So,
okay. Did we get to the last point? I think we did.
The very last slide is just kind of a helpful one. It was just showing the amount of money, if you want to pop it up there, that women are going to inherit. That's fine. It's just that women are going to inherit $900 billion. I think that sounded super
Women
off.
are specifically
By
going to?
2026.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to take care of.
Exactly. So this entire slideshow kind of says, you know, it's important to get confident now, look at what you have now and build that plan because you are going to inherit a lot of money going forward and making a lot of decisions on your own potentially.
Eventually. Absolutely. Shelby, great segment today. Something to think about for lots of women out there.
Totally.
All right. Information on the screen if you would like to speak with Abbott Wealth. If you would like to learn a little bit more about what they can offer you, you can certainly look them up online, phone them or email them, info@abbottwealth.com. Back after a quick break. Stay with us.